Hello everyone, this is Nembernan, and today I will be presenting you my rock team. Ignore this normal team that I have on the bar here, but as a reminder, this is for the Monotype Hard Mode Challenge. And in this challenge, I am trying to get through the Monotype ladder and get wins in the 1400s by using a team that qualifies with one of the three requirements. Those three requirements being, have one D rank mon on my team, having a full stall team for a type that isn't known for stall, like water or poison, or not using any of the S rank mons on the team. So, in this iteration, I decided to run a somewhat, it's an offense team. I wouldn't really call it real hyper offense though, but it is an offense focused team that mainly looks to just use rock type stab to the best of its ability, and also just use Ogrepawn Cornerstone to the best of their ability as well, because this mon is incredibly good. And I found it very difficult to make a team work without this mon and Glamora, so we had to settle for just satisfying one of the requirements, which was have a D rank mon. And our D rank mon is Lycanrock-GOAT, who I don't even think is really that bad. It's just outclassed by a lot of the other Pokemon in this slot, but the one thing it does do well is Choice Band Accelerock is the only good priority rock type attacker. So, well, it's not the only one. Lycanrock Midday is also there, but that Lycanrock is more so suited to using Sand Rush and using Stone Edge as opposed to Accelerock's band. This guy can do Accelerock's band very well though, thanks to Tough Claws and Choice Band and a High Head Stab, and this pretty not bad attack stat as well. And it's also really fast, which helps a lot with it hitting other things with close combat, Psychic Fangs, and its main stab, Stone Edge. But yeah, this one is basically the only special thing here. But everything else is pretty standard. We have this Garganacl set, which acts as a checkmate for poorly built teams, or teams that just generally don't have a real check for it. Glamora is used as our sole special attacker. Originally I didn't want to use this one, but after looking at our options for rock, there's not a lot of good options for special attackers, so I decided that I would have to use it as this. Originally I wanted to use this as more of a lead, but I realized that that would be wasting our sole special attacker. So I ended up just giving it this instead, and just making a choice scarfer. And yeah, we already explained this, Tyranitar is here to give the entire team a giant special defense buff with Sand. This is most notably helpful with Garganacl, because it doesn't really have that great of a special defense stat, but it becomes pretty decently tanky once it gets in the sand, and it can actually take a few special attacks pretty well. And then there's this guy. He's called the Crit King because during my testing with this team, he got a few really good crits when he was intimidated or minus attack to like a bunch. So he is now the Crit King. He didn't get crits in the replays that I'm going to show you guys, but he is still he's still the GOAT. He's still the GOAT. But yeah, this is also a substitute set. Now, originally I was going to make this a choice scarfer, but I didn't want to have two choice scarfers on my team, and also I just generally wanted to have like a mon that could punish more passive teams, or not really passive teams, but teams that are like very reliant on specific countermeasures. So basically I just wanted a substitutor and someone who could come in on hazards frequently, so I decided to do this, and I think this was a pretty decent choice. Although in retrospect I might have made it a choice bander instead, but then it would kind of like a rock, so I don't know. This set just seemed the best in my head at the time, and I definitely like the fact that I can choose between my moves. That is very ideal. But yeah, that's it for this set. And yeah, that pretty much explains most of the team. Heavy Slam on Tyranitar for fairy types, obviously. Standard sets, nothing really crazy on this team. unlike my last couple of teams, this team is actually fairly standard, but that's to be expected because Rock isn't really that great of a type, and it's pretty hard to do really risky stuff with this type without it just feeling impossible to win. So, yeah. Let's just move on to the replays now. So, our first replay is against the Water team. Now, you may think that this is a bad matchup, but Orgrimmon is going to show you why that's not the case. So, yeah, I got upset because I've had to face this guy like several times, and he's a decently high-rated player. But yeah, we switch into Garganacl on the switch. He puts up Ceaseless Edge. I start body pressing him. Just want to get this mon out of here because I do not have hazard removal on this team. It would normally be Glamora, but remember, I decided to make it my Choice Scarf special attacker, so I ended up not doing that. I land a Toxic Spike, but he sends in Toxapex immediately. I click Earth Power because I thought it was going to be second Glamora, but that ended up not being the case. I get Crit Energy Ball. I don't think the crit mattered, but if he was specially defensive, then it did matter, but I'm pretty sure he's physically defensive. If he isn't though, then that's unfortunate. But yeah, Tyranitar comes in on the surf, he dies, but he does set up the sand for the rest of my team. He gets a Battle Bond boost. And now I put in Ogerpon. I click Horn Leech and he gets a lot of his HP back. KOs the Greninja. He only survives that hit, by the way, because of the sand. And this was actually very unfortunate. He Swords Dances on me, and he has to, otherwise he doesn't kill me. But I ended up winning a speed tie there, and after that he just couldn't do anything, because his Toxapex set was not equipped to kill my Ogerpon. Or at least stall it out, so yeah, that was unfortunate. But yeah, unfortunately, this is a win against a higher ranked player, but my Lycanrock didn't really do anything, so I wasn't really satisfied with that. But I did want to show that I did win with this team against a higher ranked player, and this mon is genuinely just really good, like really, really good. But yeah, our next replay is against this player. This player isn't really he's barely not in the requirements, but I decided to include it anyway just because Lycanrock was helpful here. So I send in Ogerpon, do a little Horn Bleach for basic damage. Yaskarada worries me a bit, but I send in Glamora to put in the Toxic Spike because I notice he doesn't really have hazard removal, so it's pretty free. Tinglu gets poisoned. Now, I definitely switch out Blanket Glamora here. Yeah, I go into Ogerpon, takes an Earthquake. This mon is actually very physically frail, which I realized after that. I used a superpower, not a great move actually, I should have used Horn Leech instead, but I didn't get punished for it thankfully. But yes, I do use Horn Leech. I switch out here into Tyranitar to eat the Greninja hit, and to also set up sand for my team. The Ice Beam does pitiful damage to my Tyranitar. His Tyranitar is now poisoned. I set up rocks. Remember, I still don't have anything. I will switch into the Earthquake here. I really didn't have a much better option because I obviously want to keep Ogerpon healthy, but I also I definitely underestimated how tanky Garganacl was, because after looking back, I realized Garganacl actually could have taken that Earthquake very easily, so that was unfortunate. But yeah, I switch into Tyranitar to deny the Encore. And I use Knockoff on the switch, knock off an item, making good progress, got rid of that Assault Vest. It's not going to be super handy for Glamora, but yeah. We swap into the Earthquake here, and we actually take it. He gets a lower roll here, and we get the recover off, so now he's walled, and he's slowly dying to poison. He gets a crit here. I think it might have been a low roll crit. I think that should have done a bit more damage, but yeah. We survive. Sableye has boots and is in. We send out Glamora as a response. Now we have double Toxic Spikes on the field. We lose our Choice Scarfer though, which is unfortunate, but it's still playable. And yes, we use Dazzling Gleam here. He used Grass Knot. I'm assuming I'm actually not sure why he used Grass Knot there, truthfully, but he did use it, and he ended up dying for it. And regardless, he was probably going to die to a Tyranitar anyway, and it wouldn't have affected my eventual win condition. So yes, we end up paralyzing Sableye. We knock him off, and now his boots are gone, so he can't come in for free anymore. And remember, he can't do any of his prankster shenanigans to me, because I'm a dark type, so he just ends up staying in, knocks off my leftovers, and then dies to sand. Meowscarada comes in. I send in Glimora to die. Not allowing Meowscarada to get their flower trick off. I send in Tyranitar to reset the sand. Notice I'm wearing this Meowscarada down very slowly, so now it's in range for Lycanrock Accelerock, and now it's dead. And honestly, I'll be truthful, I don't think any other mon on Rock can help us win in that position. Specifically in that position. Because yes, if Arcanine was still alive and I didn't sack it earlier, he could have definitely been helpful and have eaten, maybe have eaten a flower trick and revenge killed Meowscarada from full HP. But Lycanrock is just incredibly good in the fact that it can just guarantee just be an instant threat with Accelerock, and he's still like a threat to other squishy mons. He doesn't have to constantly switch moves that he has to use. He can just stay locked in on one and still do a massive amount of damage to the others. And he's also just good in this matchup in particular. Now, Terrakion also, as a fighting type, is good in the dark matchup, but Lycanrock has the priority advantage. But yeah, my genuine review of Lycanrock is that he's actually a pretty decent mon. Honestly, he's not even that bad. He's just outclassed. And I think being outclassed doesn't really make you a particularly bad mon. Because if you're to use him over something like Terrakion, I wouldn't say you're missing out on a ton, but you definitely are like losing a bit of utility, especially with Terrakion having a dark resistance, which is very helpful in this generation. And having that additional fighting stab also helps a ton against the steel types that you're going to be facing. So yeah, Lycanrock's still a decent mon. I definitely don't think it's bad though. So if ever is in threat of being untiered, I will definitely fight to make sure it stays at least D rank, because this mon is definitely not bad. He's very useful. And now for our final replay against a fire team. I'm only including this for fun, but Lycanrock actually does a lot here. But of course he does a lot, it's a fire team, but you'll see what I mean. So we send out to set up the sand, we switch in the high jump kick because that's the best thing he can use. I get up a Toxic Spike because I noticed he doesn't have hazard removal outside of Cinderace. I thought I was going to kill him with that Dazzling Gleam, but I did not, unfortunately. Now I send out Lycanrock. Lycanrock is instantly a threat, so he has to leave. No other mon on Rock I will... Actually, no, there's... I think the Iron Bolter actually checks in there. But yeah, I send out Crit King. Crit King uses Close Combat. Heatran doesn't die. That mon is ridiculous. But it's okay. Crit King gets killed, but we weaken Heatran enough so that Ogerpon can come in for essentially free and get rid of it. So Cinderace now decides to click Court Change, and it gets rid of my Toxic Spikes, but now Cinderace is dead, so one of his best tools against Rock is gone. But he does have this, which is still an issue. And this Ogerpon is going to prove to be a problem. So Lycanrock comes in, obviously threatening Ogerpon because he's -1, and because I got Toxic, I don't have to worry about Volcarona Burn, so that is actually quite handy. Now, obviously, Cerulege is probably Sash here, so I don't want to risk losing Lycanrock there. And Garganacl comes in for free, and he's actually really good against Cerulege because he takes he basically resists most of its stab because of Purifying Salt just giving you half damage against ghosts, or making you take half damage against ghosts, so it's actually very handy. And yeah, he keeps setting up. I'm expecting him to do anything to me here, but he just doesn't. And yeah, the Bitter Blade does pitiful damage to me, so I just end up Iron Defensing. He ends up sending out Volcanion. I end up recovering. He's a substitute, which makes me very sad. and then I died to the Steam Eruption. Very unfortunate. So I end up sending out Ogerpon, using Ivy Cudgel. Kenyon takes a bunch of damage. I keep spamming Ivy Cudgel. So I actually made a very unique play here. So I knew he was going to try and Shadow Sneak my Ogerpon because obviously he loses if he doesn't, well, he loses this one and then has to deal with the speed tie later. If he doesn't Shadow Sneak here. So I decided to switch in my Lycanrock to Shadow Sneak, which would be risky normally because he could have used Poltergeist, but I just really predicted that he was going to use Shadow Sneak here because it just seemed like a very free play to make. So yeah, I switched into Shadow Sneak. Lycanrock doesn't take a ton of damage from it. Accelerock kills him, and it kills Ogerpon as well. And yeah, that is how useful that team can be. But you can see, Lycanrock just applied a ton of pressure. Now, obviously, Iron Boulder and Terrakion can both also do this, but as I said, priority just means a ton, and also, you know, not having to rely on Stone Edge is pretty huge as well. So, yeah, that's it for this rock team, and that's also it for the video. So, thank you for watching. I will now spin the wheel to see what type I'll be doing next time. And it's Bug! Alright, I'll see you guys next time for that video. Stay tuned.